welcome to another great video. We're going to compare wealth. How do you stack up? How does your wealth compare? We're going through some of the data. First portion here is taken from Nick Majuli's new book, came out in 2025. He looked at 6 different wealth levels. The book's called The Wealth Ladder, and he strategized each level, thinking each level can have different strategies, different goals. What takes it to level 2, for example, you need a whole different strategy to get to level 3. And then he provided lots of data here, Kevin, to see how you stack up.
Yeah, so I mean, if we take a look, the levels are basically divided into a variety of different categories. There's under 10,000, which is your first level, 10 to 100, 100 to a million to 10 million, 10 million, and so on going upward. And as you can see, just starting on that sort of basics things, if we even look at level 1, that this is the global world, everybody around there, the share of adults in the world that have less than 10,000 in net worth, and remember, that's wealth that we're talking about, is almost 40%. So roughly 40% of the world is in that category. And then if you look at one more category above, 43% is in the 10 to 100. So theoretically speaking, over 80% of the world is in the first 2 categories, which tells you exactly where that wealth is and, where things are moving.
Yeah, and a little detail there. Again, this is taken from Nick Majuli's book. He provided all the data there. Lots of information. This is going to be in U.S. figures. So
yes, it is.
This is actually $100,000. And then it's the U.S. and then effectively the rest of the world is the world number. So non-U.S., everybody else, which include Canada. And you can see as you go up to wealth levels, U.S. clearly a rich country, because if you look at level 4, for example, 1 to 10 million, that's 1.4% of the adults around the world outside the U.S. In the U.S., it's 16% of the households.
It's a fairly decent.
In that category, 20 million households versus 54 million adults in the rest of the world that are in that category. And of course, once you get above 10 million, there's very few. It's effectively a rounding error.
Yes, that's
a consider it. In the U.S., however, it's 1.7. So that's not a rounding error. That's a larger number than over the 100 million, that level 6. Small number, very small number. That would be a rounding error both in the U.S. and then outside the rest of the world. But it gives you an idea of how to categorize the wealth and see how many people are in each category. Let's take that concept and then look at some Canadian specific numbers.
Yeah, so when we look at the Canadian numbers, what we want to deal with here, we're dealing with the median net worth. Okay, so that's the biggest thing. We're not countering everything. This is the median sort of scenario. And as you can tell, if we look at all Canadians from 1999 all the way up to 2023, you count in inflation, a variety of other things, but we've gone from just under 200,000 to just over 500,000, which is a nice scenario to sort of be at. If we take a look a little bit broader in that, the economic families, and then the person's not in an economic family, so you can consider this families compared to individuals. That's probably the easiest way.
Probably pretty
exactly. That's the way to do it. And as we can tell, if you take a look, let's look at that last number more or less, that 712,900. That puts, the median Canadian net worth sort of scenario in that category 3 scenario. That's where we're sitting at. That's the level 3. And again, even if you're looking at an individual, well, the individual is more or less sitting there in that same category, level 3. So we're getting that comparison that Canadians are not in that 80%. They tend to be more in that level 3 category.
Yeah. So if you were to plot Canada on the prior table, it would be probably more aligned with the U.S. figures. Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. Lots of folks probably in that level 3 category, which was the one with the most people in the U.S. when it came to net worth. We'll dive a little deeper here into net worth in Canada. Again, net worth is not just savings. It'll include equity in a business, equity in your home. That's all part of the net worth calculation. Looking at it by age as well as over time.
Yeah, so I mean, if we're starting to do those sort of numbers, again, if you look at that under 35, well, let's remember, you're probably early in your career, you're doing a variety of different other things. It has increased over time with inflation and things like that, but still you're looking at that sort of 100 and almost 60,000 in the under 35 category, but by the time you get to that sort of 55 to 64, now you're getting closer to 900,000. So again, you're still in that level 3, but as you can tell, your net worth starts to go up as you age. Again, longer in your work job, may have gone through family and everything else, those numbers are going to continue to build. And then when you start to see it, that's 55 to 64 is probably the highest area you're going to have.
Yeah, kind of peak earnings right before retirement. So hopefully many decades into the career, you're going to commanding a higher pay from your job. And then when you retire, you always start to spend some of the money. So net worth might come down a little bit. We're going to dive a little deeper into some figures here to see exactly how you stack up for wealth. But before we do, folks have questions. How do we get answers?
You go to chatwithclintonandkevin.com. By all means, anything on your wealth comparison, if you want to take a look at it, or financial information, please send us a chatwithclintonandkevin.com. We'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Absolutely. It's part of our website there. This is going to go back to Nick Majuli's book, The Wealth Ladder. He looked up those 6 wealth levels and then looked at the median age of the people in each level. Now, this is U.S. data, but it does kind of speak to what we're talking about. You get your peak earning years, you kind of get the highest net worth, and you retire. It takes a lifetime to get there.
It does.
A lifetime of good habits. And that's kind of reflected in some of the data here.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you can tell, I mean, level one, basically, it's all that, you've got a mortgage, you're working through the kids, you're getting everything done. That means that you're not probably saving as much as you could. But as soon as you get past some of that stage, all of a sudden starts to go up. Level one is sort of 42. But as you can tell, 2 years later on the average median, now you're in level two. And by the time you get into those early 50s, well, you've hit exactly where that sort of net worth for Canada has been in that level three scenario. And it goes up from there.
Yeah, and you can see level 4 there, the 1 million to 10 million. The average median age, is 62. And that kind of makes sense. If folks had a really good job and they were diligently saving for many, many years, they probably won't get beyond level 4. It's hard to save your way to more than $2 million. And it would take you a lifetime anyway to get there. And that's why the median age is 62 for the folks that are in that level 4 category, because it takes a lifetime, a number of decades of saving and investing of good habits is compounding on each other. Level 5, level 6, really, you got to be lucky, you get a really big inheritance. If you got a lottery win, you're an athlete of some kind, commanding a big pay. More likely, however, folks that get to that category, they're business owners.
Yes.
And usually it's not the first business they sell. That's the big one. They normally build one, they sell it, and they get kind of 2 or 3 is where they get the big success.
Yep.
And they sell it for a windfall. That's really how you get to level 5 or 6. Completely different strategy, but still takes a lifetime. Look at the median ages there at 64, at 66. It's not 31.
No,
that does happen, but that's very rare.
Very rare.
It usually takes someone a lifetime to achieve those levels, and that's the idea. Is a higher median age usually connected with those higher wealth levels. We'll dig into some Canadian-specific numbers in a second, but we do have a newsletter. So if you like this kind of content, you can click on the link in the description, sign up for the newsletter. Financial planning tips in your inbox. Let's dive into each province here in Canada and see how they stack up.
Yeah, so we take a look at how this all breaks down by provinces for that wealth comparison and the net worth. We're going to find out that if you really take a look at it, sort of pick out 3, and in particular 2 more so than others. BC and Ontario tend to have the highest ones there. BC's almost 800,000. You're getting 660 some odd thousand out of the Ontario one, and then you're getting a little over 450 in Alberta. But a lot of that probably has to do with the fact that we're dealing with net worth, so you're counting somebody's house. And of course, we know that property values in Ontario and BC tend to be higher than the rest of the country. And if you take a look at basically the rest of the country, they're all within sort of that range between 300 and 400,000. New Brunswick's a little lower on that format, but again, you're looking at sort of that net worth. Everywhere else is fairly much similar. BC and Ontario tend to be the outliers. And again, we find that this is probably more due to property than it is to actual savings you're holding.
Yeah, that'd be our guess. It didn't actually say in the data, but my guess is if you look, well, homeowners are probably going to be pumping up that median net worth, and it's because property values are so high in those 2 provinces. Some key considerations are bringing it home. The takeaways, does any of this matter, Kevin?
No, actually, it doesn't matter at all. I mean, the basic thing is you have your money, you don't have your neighbor's money. So no matter what they are, it's irrelevant. Comparing yourself to your neighbors, not the way to go. Compare yourself to your financial plan. Your set goals and your unique situation is going to decide how this works for you. It's not about what everybody else is. It's nice to compare and see where you sit, but you are your own individual. Those are things that you have to deal with. And what's our mantra that you have to do for this?
Yeah, you have to have a plan. That's the idea. And rarely is their financial plan going to depend on how much money your neighbor has. That's usually not how retirement works. But if you like this video, you're certainly going to love the video on the screen now. The best and worst provinces to retire in. Click on that one. We'll see you again very soon.